The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by the DeWalt tools at Ace Bolt and Screw. Visit acebolt.net for a location near you.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
This is Out of Order.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Low Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
All right, good morning. Welcome inside the Bank Plus studio. This is the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I am obviously not Bo Bounce. Blake Scott filling in for the incomparable one today. And we're excited to be here as we talk a little college baseball, college football, and everything in between. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Happy to have you alongside as we talk all things SEC. And, of course, the Out of Bounds is brought to you by XL Water and Coffee. Water to your door. That's right. You can have water and coffee delivered straight to your door. The leading residential delivery service, water at your door. XL Water. And, of course, the Out of Bounds Show brought to you by the incredible cuts of meat at Welcome Home Beef. Cooked one up last night myself. A little ribeye in honor of college baseball and the College World Series being back finally for the first time in 2 seasons. Welcome Home Beef. They will provide you incredible cuts of meat. Of course, they have sausage as well and a few other options in Starkville. Welcome Home Beef on Main Street in Starkville. Go check out what Scott Sanders and the crew are doing there. As well as their brand new RV development, which will be incredible when it comes to Starkville and college sports consumption. Excited to have you alongside this morning. I am Blake Scott, filling in for Bo Bounce today, although we will have the man himself on the show a little bit later. But we want to get started this morning bright and early talking a little Omaha in honor of Peyton Manning as the Tennessee Volunteers and the Texas Longhorns get things started today at 1 o'clock in an elimination game. Mississippi State and Virginia squaring off in the winner's bracket, 1-0. The winner moves to that coveted 2-0 spot and awaits the loser's bracket Friday. The loser has a little bit tougher road and will have to win another game before competing for a chance at that final series. Excited to have you alongside this morning. Incredible games last night. Incredible baseball games last night. I thought we saw another pitcher's duel as Jack Leiter, Vanderbilt, NC State battled it out in an incredible, classic, old-school style baseball game. Leiter was filthy, as was NC State, but at the end of the day, it came down to one swing at the bat. And North Carolina State parked a mammoth, what looked to be like a 450-foot home run into right center field. And that was it. It was 1-0. NC State wins. Vanderbilt takes their first loss here in Omaha. They're now set to face Stanford, who absolutely obliterated Arizona. That's right. Arizona spent everything they had to get past Vanderbilt in 12 innings in Game 1 Saturday night. They did not get out of that game alive. And I think that loss carried over. You could see it on the field yesterday as Stanford absolutely obliterates Arizona 14-5. And so it'll be Vanderbilt versus Stanford. And the winner will take on NC State, who now sits at 2-0 and only needs one win to compete for a College World Series title. Mississippi State, on the other hand, going to face off against a red-hot Virginia team. That's right. Another ACC school. Virginia, NC State, repping the ACC against the SEC. So far, the ACC picked up the win last night. We'll see what happens today, 6 o'clock. Mississippi State versus Virginia, and it'll be Christian McLeod. Can the Bulldog offense get going That's going to be the question. Can the Bulldog offense get going? Tanner Allen, 0 for 4. Logan Tanner, 0 for 4. You got to get some offense going. Cumbest and James, kind of the catalyst there. Scotty DeBrule got it going with a sack fly as well, but it's going to be all hands on deck. Mississippi State, Virginia tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as the show goes on. We want to let you know about what's going to happen today. 8:30, Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, will join the show. We'll talk a little LSU baseball coaching search, among other things. Talk a little Ed Orgeron as well. But what's going to happen now that Mike Bianco has officially removed his name from consideration for the LSU job? And Ole Miss fans, I got a question for you. I'd love to hear from you. 601-885-3776, the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line if you want to be a part of the show today. 601-885-3776. Easy breezy. 601-855-3776 if you want to be a part of the show. I want to hear from my Ole Miss fans. Does Arizona going 0-2 upset you? Does it make you feel any type of way? I think there's always a little bit of a what could have been when you see the team that got past you do poorly at the next step, right? I mean, we see it all the time in baseball, football, basketball. It doesn't matter. For both fan bases, State and Ole Miss, we all experience it. Does Arizona going 0-2 affect you? You would have played it would have been Ole Miss versus Vanderbilt to start the College World Series. Kumar Rocker. And the crazy part about this is Vanderbilt is now 2 games in to their Omaha run with the 2 best pitchers in the hunt. According to all MLB projections, according to all the draft talk, according to the stats all season long, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter have been the best pitchers in college baseball. Doug Nikhazy was right there, obviously, but Leiter and Rocker were the best guys in college baseball, week in and week out. And yet, here we sit 2 games into Omaha, and Kumar Rocker doesn't have a win, and Jack Leiter has a loss. Kumar left the game down. Arizona lost that game, and Vanderbilt came back to win it too, but Arizona should have won that game. They 100% let opportunities slip away. So here's the best team in college baseball, we believe, the Vanderbilt Commodores, after Arkansas got eliminated by this NC State club in Fayetteville. Now we see that the Vanderbilt pitching staff, while incredibly impressive, is it's not all that. You have to be able to put up a little bit of offense as well. 1-0. I mean, a classic pitcher's duel, an incredible game last night. D. Manning says on the Mississippi Ag text line, no, not upset. It's a new day. D. Manning's on to football season, and I understand that some of you guys are as well. We're going to talk a little college football a little bit later today as Bo Bounds joins us. We're going to talk a little scheduling. Got an interesting discussion as an article dropped by Andy Staples on The Athletic. Has to do with the new scheduling formats that could potentially come out of the college football playoff expansion. Could we see finally, could we see the SEC and maybe the ACC move away from divisions, go to more of a round-robin type scheduling format, a couple constants, and a lot more fun, actual competitive intra-conference games, I should say, that currently, you only get Mississippi State, Georgia twice every 10 years. You only get Ole Miss and Florida twice every 10 years. So we'll see what happens there. We're going to talk a little college football as the show progresses. This is the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Blake Scott filling in for Mr. Bo Bounds today as we talk a little college baseball and a little college football. Should be a good one. Hope you're along for the ride this morning. The Out of Bounds Show brought to you by Madison Ridgeland Academy. That's right, MRA Pats, excelling on the field and off. Check out what Madison Ridgeland Academy is doing today and get a tour scheduled. I am sure things are moving right along for the fall 2021 semester as MRA looks to three-peat, in the high school football state champions. We'll see what the Pats have this fall. Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Mike Detillier, 8:30. Bo Bounds coming up soon. Premium local Wagyu beef shipped straight to your door. That's what Breezy Oaks Ranch can bring to your table. Located in central Mississippi, Breezy Oaks Ranch raises pasture-fed Wagyu beef and heritage pork, embodying the true definition of farm to table. Whether it's Wagyu fillets or a thick-cut pork chop, you can have premium cuts of meat delivered straight to your door at breezyoaksranch.com. Premium red Wagyu and heritage pork only from Breezy Oaks Ranch in central Mississippi. For shipping details and restrictions, visit Breezy Oaks Ranch.
The Out of Bounds Show podcast is brought to you by Boar's Head, premium meats, cheeses, and hummus. Boar's Head, compromise elsewhere.
What's on the big board?
All right, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Live in the Bank Plus studio. Bank Plus is more than a name, it's a promise. Love being back in the Bank Plus studio. Enjoy being over there with my crew, Chris Brooks and Beaver. But glad to be back home today. Always fun to be live in the Bank Plus studio. And we'll hear from Bo Bounds in the mobile Bank Plus studio a little bit later today. If you want to be a part of the show, always interested in hear from you. 601-885-3776, the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. Should be quite a matchup tonight as Mississippi State and Virginia take each other on. Game 2 in this side of the bracket for the College World Series. NC State is 2-0 on their side of the bracket. Who's going to be 2-0? Will it be Virginia? On quite a heater. They came out of South Carolina, so they were the 3 seed. 1 seed was Old Dominion. The 2 seed was the host, South Carolina. 3 seed was Virginia. Virginia comes out of that regional. They then face Dallas Baptist back in South Carolina. Face Dallas Baptist. Get past them in an extended, it was 3 games, but if you remember correctly, the game on Monday got rained out. They played a Tuesday game. Game on Monday night got rained out. They played a Tuesday morning game. I think that game started like 9 a.m. East Coast time, which is incredible. So they got past Dallas Baptist, and now here they sit after handing Tennessee a 6-0 loss behind an incredible pitching performance from Andrew Abbott. The Who's, as they go by, the Cavaliers, the Who's, Virginia Who's, they now sit here a game away from being 2-0 in Omaha. Virginia and Mississippi State last met 2013 in a super regional in which Mississippi State was able to take 2 games on the road over Virginia. What happens tonight, we'll see. We're efforting a Virginia insider as we speak, so we'll see if we hear from them a little bit later today as we talk a little Omaha. I'm surprised last night you saw the Vanderbilt offense struggle. That's now back-to-back night games that are pitchers' duels. Will Bednar goes 15 strikeouts in 6 innings. Mississippi State strikes out a total of 21. In a 9-inning game, it ends 2-1. Texas's only offense came in the 9th inning. Up to that point, they had a single and a walk and a hit batter. Then last night, Jack Leiter, arguably one of the best pitchers in the game, he goes no hit until he gives up the only hit that matters. A solo shot that was absolutely crushed. He tattooed that baseball. Anything that flies that far should have an in-flight movie and a stewardess. I mean, that ball was launched. It was the only offense in the game. Vanderbilt came close a couple times, but really, I mean, shut down. I thought what NC State was able to do was really impressive. against a dominant Vanderbilt offense. And for NC State, I mean, it just Sam Highfield, 7 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. It wasn't the strikeout machine that Bednar and Sims were, but you go 9 innings and you give up 2 hits, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. Faced just 4 batters over the minimum. I mean, it's a great job. Great job by by NC State. And NC State did what it needed to do and got past Vanderbilt, 1-0. Now we see, will this be the 4th straight night game in Omaha that's decided by 1 run? Saturday night, the opener, we had a 1-run game in 12 innings. Vanderbilt got past Arizona. Then Mississippi State 2-1 over Texas. A nail-biter, a pitching duel of epic proportions. Then last night, another pitcher's duel, 1-0. Highfield versus Leiter. NC State versus Vanderbilt. The power versus the upstart. And Vanderbilt goes down. Who comes out tonight? Virginia, Mississippi State, 6 o'clock. We will find out, and we'll talk to Bo Bounds a little bit about that as we get his thoughts. Can Mississippi State go 2-0 again for only the 2nd time in Omaha? So remember, 2018, the 3rd time. 2018, Mississippi State goes 2-0 in Omaha, loses 2 straight to Oregon State. In 2013, Mississippi State swept through their side of the bracket. So interesting what's going to happen tonight. Can Mississippi State cement a 2-0 start, or does Virginia have what it takes? Now, Virginia has used their best starter, Andrew Abbott, and they've used their best reliever. But they do have a couple good relievers still in the bullpen. And at this point, everybody you face in Omaha has talent. They've got skill. And more importantly, what Virginia has and what NC State has is momentum. They have momentum. Everything is rolling downhill right now for NC State. Everything is rolling downhill right now for Virginia. Can they keep up that type of momentum? Can they ride the hot performance out of their regional and super regional and really stymie a Mississippi State lineup that has not performed in their first game in Omaha? But you face Ty Madden, who's the number 9 pitcher in the MLB draft projections coming up. You're not going to face Ty Madden in this game. But I will say Mississippi State, for the most part this season, has struggled against soft-throwing guys. They've been better facing top-level, like MLB-type talent, the guys that throw 94, right? Guys that they are more familiar with in terms of the style of pitching that they go up against. Efforting a Virginia insider. We're going to see if we can talk to a couple guys a little bit later today as well, because I want to get the scoop on what Virginia is bringing to the table. But it's not going to be all Omaha. We are going to talk a little college football as we kind of talk a little bit of the college football scheduling spillover that's going to come out of the playoff expansion. I'd like to get your thoughts. 601-885-3776, the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line. Are you in favor of the 12-team playoff? Yes or no? Are you in favor of the 12-team playoff? Yes or no? 601-885-3776, the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line. I'd love to get your thoughts because I think the 12-team playoff is interesting. There are a large portion of people who feel that it may devalue the regular season. Tom Luganbill has come on this show and said it himself. Does it strip the regular season of value? Are we going for quantity and accessibility over the quality of the matchup? But the side part of this that hasn't really been fleshed out yet, and that Andy Staples kind of gets into with the help of a man that you all know well, Scott Stricklin, Florida Athletic Director, formerly of Mississippi State. Andy Staples has an interesting article on The Athletic regarding Scott Stricklin's preferred schedule updates. How Scott Stricklin would like to see college football change its scheduling process. And it's interesting. There's a few different tenets that we're going to walk you through here in the next few segments. But it's interesting. I'd love to get your thoughts. 601-885-3776. Are you excited? Are you happy about the 12-team playoff expansion? Is that something that you're interested in? Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by an ice-cold Modelo. Enjoy a Modelo Especial tonight as you watch a little college baseball. Eye Care Professionals has exciting news. Dr. Kurt Jeffries and the staff proudly welcome Dr. Lee Jones, a comprehensive ophthalmologist specializing in diseases of the eye and laser cataract surgery. Laser cataract and blade-free LASIK deliver life-changing results. So call 601-366-1085 today for your free consultation at our Lakeland Drive location in Jackson. That's 601-366-1085. Eye Care Professionals. See. The Out of Bounds Show podcast is powered by Breezy Oaks Ranch. For Mississippi-raised premium Wagyu beef and heritage pork shipped straight to your door, visit breezyoaksranch.com.
The SEC Insider Hit. And it's presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue.
Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, live and local, streaming worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. Download the Out of Bounds radio app on the Apple Store or Google Play and be locked and loaded for all your SEC baseball, football, and anything in between content, and, of course, the Y'all lifestyle. As you're out in Omaha, you can use the Out of Bounds radio app to stay tuned in to your SEC baseball talk here on the Out of Bounds show. You're not going to want to miss it out. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're going to go to the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Talk to the man himself out on location, Mr. Bo Bounds. Bo, what's up?
What's up, broski?
Man, living the dream. Living the dream.
Are you having fun in the Bank Plus studio?
I said that already today. I said I love my time with Beav and Brooksy, but it's always good to be back home.
Good. I hope it's embracing you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think we have a big game tonight. Well, there's several things going on. A big game tonight, obviously, with the Dogs and Virginia. And we'll see if LSU will target Brian O'Connor from Virginia. I don't think he would leave, but Brian O'Connor's been in Virginia for a while and had a lot of success. And that's who Mississippi State will take on tonight. But Brian O'Connor was former assistant to Paul Mainieri, and I remember talking about him years ago. And then, when Mainieri wasn't hired at Mississippi State in 2001, everybody thought, well, what's going to happen there? He'll land a big gig. He eventually goes to LSU. Brian O'Connor, his main assistant, goes to Virginia. So I don't know if LSU could necessarily poach Brian O'Connor from Virginia, but he's one heck of a baseball coach, and they've had several College World Series appearances, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then I love the article you sent earlier this morning on theathletic.com, Scott Stricklin, Gator AD, obviously, talking to Andy Staples about college football scheduling going forward. And we, of course, the sport, the NCAA, the conference commissioners, the ADs as a whole, I'm not blaming all of them, but have been slow to move. Nobody wants to watch Mississippi State, Georgia State, or Ole Miss and La Monroe, or Bama against Wofford. And so I thought that was a good piece. So we have all sorts of things to get into here on the SEC Insider Hit, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be Blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. I get a feeling that you are ready for tonight's game already.
It's It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. It's a little nerve-wracking day for sure, to say the least.
Yeah, I would think for you, for sure. I'm driving back in a thunderstorm from the beach. We'll be live from Ace Bolt and Screw. Their downtown, their original location, their headquarters, if you will, in downtown Jackson. We'll be live from Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. So we'll be out there for, well, really 5 hours, but on the air for 3 hours. And I think we'll have to find some goodies to give away. We'll be recapping the Mississippi State-Virginia game. State's going with McLeod. Did you see where Virginia already announced their starter, Blake?
Yes, and as someone on the text line liked to point out, the guy is 0-6 with an ERA above 5, so he's sure to throw a shutout tonight.
Well, okay.
Text line is locked and loaded, baby. They're ready. They're ready. Although Steven in Nashville has already given us our weather report and says the wind is blowing in today in Omaha. He's there.
Oh, he's in Omaha?
Steven in Nashville is now Steven in Nashville, currently in Omaha.
Oh, I love it. So I got to spend about an hour with him at Two Brothers.
Great guy.
Several weeks ago. Yeah, he's a good dude. And great story. He and his brother were there. And his brother is now in Memphis, but was in Atlanta, I think. They've both been very successful. They grew up in Jackson and went to prep, Mississippi State. And then, one's been in Nashville, the other Atlanta, Memphis. So that's great. Shout out to I'm glad he's there and enjoying himself in Omaha, Nebraska. It's a good trip. It is especially when your team wins.
Yeah, amen.
When your team wins, it is a really, really good trip. And it should be it could be a hell of a game tonight between MSU and Virginia. A lot on the line. You win, you get a breather for a couple of days. You were out there last time, I think in 2018, when they won 2 and they got a breather for a couple of days, weren't you?
Yeah, it plays a huge factor when you talk about pitching depth and your rotation abilities. Because if you can go 2-0, it sets up to where Will Bednar is pitching Friday, and so you don't go to your third starter until you have to. And if you were to win Friday, which I know we're putting the cart before the horse, but whatever team, if NC State does it on the other side, if they go 3-0,
sure,
it sets up to where your ace can pitch 3 times. He can pitch the second game of the World Series, final series.
How about that?
I mean, you get your ace 3 times in a 12-day, 14-day period. That's about as all you can ask for.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's all you can ask for. Bednar coming off of an epic pitching performance, that's for sure. I've lost track of my days. Was that Sunday night?
It was Sunday night.
Okay. All right. I feel like between my, 8 nights in Starkville, 1 night in Greenville, a week at the beach a few weeks ago, and then here, I'm not sure what's going on, but it's been a heck of a ride. That's for sure. Maybe in Omaha next week. Who knows? Hey, let's switch gears, and I'd like for you to bring up the main 3 points in the article on The Athletic by Andy Staples about Scott Stricklin talking about scheduling, which is something that we've talked about for years, as far as they've got to get it better because people are not interested in, non-conference games against La Monroe.
Absolutely. So the premise is Scott Stricklin has been coming up with this new scheduling format, and the idea, the push behind this new format would just be to create a better fan experience, to make the season a better experience for the fans, right? And so here's his 3 tenets. It's a 3-tenet list. Tenet number 1, all Power 5 schools should play 11 meaningful games each season. Now, we'll break down what that means, but tenet 1 is...
love that.
Yeah, it's nuanced wording, right? It's smart. It's political wording.
Here's what he's saying. Let me jump in real quick. Then you go ahead. Here's what Scott Stricklin is saying without getting in trouble PC-wise for the snowflakes. He's basically saying 11 P5s, 1 G5. What I think he really wants at the end of the day is 12 P5s. And what I've been advocating for years is let's go ahead and separate the 2. G5 needs to be on its own. and create its own playoff. But go ahead.
No, you're right. And so that's what he says. He essentially says that without saying, like, for certain schools, you might want to have still some G5 relationships, but for the most part, it is going to be, they're trying to get to that point. So that's tenet number one. Play at least 11 of your 12 games should matter, right? And that makes sense because right now, how many of them matter? 7, 8, 9, maybe?
Oh, I don't know if it's that many.
I mean, your conference games matter because you can't lose certain ones. But
True.
But you're right. Like if you get 7 home games, only of those 7 home games that you pull, only 3 or 4 are going to be worth.
Sometimes 2 or 3 are only any good.
You're right. You're
Look,
right.
The only time a non-conference, and again, they need to be done away with, but at the only time that a Ole Miss La Monroe or a Mississippi State Wofford is any good, and this is few and far between, is when that game is on November 10th, and it's a little chilly, and it's a fun time to tailgate because it's 50, 55 degrees.
And you don't even go into the stadium.
And you don't go, and you cook some great food, you have a Bloody Mary, and you enjoy yourself, and you don't worry about going in the game whatsoever.
Nope.
But the day is laid back. But even then, it's not worth the all these games. I mean, I'm looking this morning. I looked at the Ole Miss and Mississippi State schedule, and there's too much dog food.
Exactly. And part of that,
people have had enough, and it's over, and it's time to, I mean, when you're paying for 6 to 8 club level seats, and you get 3 good home games,
that's not enough.
What are we doing?
Yeah, it's not enough.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I got other. I can go to the beach. I mean, as soon as I get these 2 out, I mean, I can go to the beach for the month of October and watch it on a smart TV. So we got to figure this thing out sooner than later, because I've heard more people after COVID last year say, I hung out at the house. I did more on my patio and deck. I like cooking and having a beverage and watching it on a monster smart TV. Yep. So we got to bring those people back to the stadium.
And watching multiple games. I get all the games. I get it. It's so convenient. It's so easy. Yeah. And part of making those 11 games meaningful, Bo, and Scott Stricklin goes into detail with Andy Staples about this, is getting rid of the neutral site games. It's creating the home and homes that get fans more interested in not only not only going to your home game, but if you play a team 2 years in a row, you're more interested in going to that road game. Because of the little bit of a quote-unquote rivalry.
About home games.
It is, but it's just about fan involvement in general.
It's not about traveling to NC State or I mean, only a few people are going to do that. In the grand scheme of things, this is about offering a better season ticket package to the person who's investing. Look, even the person who spends $8 to $10 grand with you, and collectively, if you took, how many people do that in Starkville and Oxford, it's a big number. And then that doesn't count their tailgating or their condo fees or their hotel fees and so on. That number gets to, 17 to 20 plus thousand pretty quick. And so you just got to, what do you have to do? You have to have more meat on the bone, right?
Yep. And that's what this next part goes to. Tenet number 2 is schedules should have some annual opponents to maintain rivalry, but a majority of your opponents should rotate regularly to avoid fan fatigue. And this is a direct shot at the now archaic division setup that we have in the SEC, which worked clearly in the 90s. It was a great job. We needed it. The move to the title game and it all made sense when it was created, and it made the SEC boom. However, we now have to grow out.
Time to do away with them.
Exactly. You grew into it. Now you're growing out of it, just like anything in life.
Because the West doesn't feel like they have any kind of connection to the East.
There's no breathing room.
I even noticed it on this show. I mean, we obviously, the main 4 teams we cover are Ole Miss, MSU, Bama, and LSU. But I'm interested in Florida and Georgia, and I guess sometimes some other schools. But I even noticed it on the show that I think people just are more and more removed from the other side, the East, and a lot of our fans it's not their fault, just don't really follow or care much about Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and some of the others. And I agree, if we did away with the with the divisions, I just think it'd be more fun.
Oh, way more fun. Way more fun.
Teams.
Way more fun. You want to be able to, again, I know this is about home, but it's about creating the relationship between two schools so that your home game when that school is here is great and their home game when you're there is great, right? And you can't have that. No one can get inspired about playing South Carolina when you play them once every 14 seasons. But if you play them twice, if every 4-year class gets to play home and away versus each school, then you have now you've got connections. Now you've got rivalries building. Now you've got fan bases who can, quote unquote, get at each other for that week where it feels realistic and it's fun and it's exciting. You don't have that right now.
No, I agree, and I hope that Commissioner Sankey and the crew will take a long look. And look, Stricklin, the AD for Florida, is looking at this thing, and really the divisions work for him. Okay?
Exactly.
But here's what he realizes, Blake. Florida's had trouble getting people to go to games.
Too many things to do.
Absolutely. And what he realizes is Florida fans are not interested in Florida, South Carolina, Florida, Vandy, Florida, Kentucky, and Florida, Missouri.
Or even Tennessee.
Right, the last 10 years. And so they're interested in Florida, Georgia, and Florida, LSU.
And one of those.
That's it.
One of those isn't even at home.
Right. One's exactly. That's a great point. One's at a neutral site. And so Scott looks at it and he's like, what is it, Ben Griffin Stadium?
That's right, the Swamp.
The Swamp. So he's sitting there thinking, how do I pack the Swamp? And doing the same thing that we've been doing is not going to get it. Mm-hmm. My donors, my fan base is not into Florida, Missouri, Kentucky, Vandy, South Carolina, and Tennessee every single year. Will they watch the Georgia game on TV or take half of the stadium in Jacksonville? Absolutely. And do they get into LSU every other year when we host LSU? Yes. And this year is a different year. It's one out of every 10 or 12 years where Florida actually hosts Alabama. But other than that, people are not interested, and they're struggling to get even close. I mean, Mississippi State and Ole Miss have pulled, some much better crowds over the last few years than Florida. And look, you were up at Tennessee, and the place was empty when Joe Moorhead got beat by a terrible Tennessee team a couple of years ago. So you've never experienced. I mean, I've been in Neyland when there's 107,000 people barking in your ear, and it's absolutely nuts. So the point is, we got to set this thing up, and I hope that they'll do away with the division sooner than later, so that all. And look, selfishly for State and Ole Miss, we got to break the gauntlet of Bama, Auburn, LSU, and now to a certain extent A&M. But even though A&M doesn't act like it, just the physicality index on that game is brutal because they do have top 5 talent, and which means you're gonna know you played them, even if they're not elite like Bama and LSU.
It's like LSU. Even when LSU was doing it wrong, they were still doing it physically, right? So it still made it difficult, right? So A&M's the same way. I think one thing that you're bringing up that's so interesting too is for AD Scott Stricklin to recognize that while it may cost him in some areas on the field because it creates harder scheduling, like if this transition were to occur, it creates more difficult scheduling year in and year out for Florida. He knows that given what they have resource-wise, that they can still put themselves in a position to succeed and that they'll still have a good schedule every so often. But it also, like you said, it shows you where we're having to go as sports entities, where you have to do above and beyond to get the experience at the stadium to match the ease of access of the experience at home. And to speak to the Florida-Alabama series, the last time they played in Gainesville was 2011. Will Muschamp took on Nick Saban. Saban won 38-10 that day.
Yeah, he took his foot off the pedal. Yeah, because it was a former assistant. But yeah, so it's been since 2011 that Florida hosted Bama, And
that's just preposterous. Their powers in your if those are your two SEC powers on East and West, so to speak.
Well, they're the two biggest football programs in the Southeastern Conference.
Then what are we doing?
To the chase.
How do they how do they play each other? They've only played 2 regular season games in 10 years. Once in 11 and once in 16 in Tuscaloosa. That's it.
Well, and that's obviously ridiculous, but there's something else to think about. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Blake Stricklin also understands, and this is going to be tough for us to rewire our brain, but the days of having to go 12-0 are over. Okay, you're going to be able to go with a really tough schedule.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to gravitate more towards the NFL, right? Because we have really good teams in the NFL that go 10-6, and they still have a chance, and they do win the Super Bowl, or they have a great chance to win the Super Bowl. So we are going to have to rewire our brains to understand that if Florida loads up their schedule, or Bama or LSU, and they finish 10-2, they're still going to punch their ticket to the college football playoff with this 12-team playoff.
Well, and
even 9-3, by the way, Blake at times is going to get, if you're in the SEC and you draw the right
schedule,
and you have the right 9 win. In other words, A&M, Ole Miss, MSU, Tennessee, if they get their mind right, Auburn, whatever. You could throw down a 9-3 with some big wins within those 9 wins, and you could have a really good quarterback, and you could punch your ticket to the college football playoff play.
I 100% agree, and I think kind of what you're speaking to is why this schedule model is being brought up, and it creates twofold. One, your entry points to the tournament now become greater if you're the SEC, because you can have teams not completely cannibalize themselves. Like LSU and Alabama could not only both make the playoff, but they could meet in Atlanta under this new format.
I'm all for that.
Think about the games we could get in Atlanta now too. Just that game alone, plus your access points to the tournament become greater because you don't have the West self-cannibalize every single season. You could have multiple West teams be good and not kill each other every year, depending on the schedule. The final point, the final point, real quick, to Scott Stricklin's 3 tenets. Number 3 was all kickoff times should be announced in the spring prior to the season with small flexibility.
Yeah, and I loved underneath that where Scott ran into a big Florida fan, and they're also a Chicago Bears fan.
Yep.
And they go ahead and plan their road trips to Chicago in the spring, and you know that got Stricklin's mind racing.
Yep.
And so this guy's obviously talking to him, and he goes to the Swamp too, but he's going to go to Soldier Field for X amount of games in Chicago. And I love that. Give people an opportunity to go ahead and schedule their fall.
And the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 are big enough now and have enough weight that they can say, hey, guys, let's get the majority of this scheduled out. And we have, just like the NFL, we've got one game that we are pretty sure will be the biggest game this week. And if by chance we have to flex a week out, we have the ability to with small changes, right? It's 2021. We've been doing this. The NCAA just got destroyed in the Supreme Court because of their archaic nature. This is the same thing. TV's treated football the way the NCAA has, archaically. It's time to update.
Sure.
It's time to update.
It is, and I think we will. I think we're going that way. And Blake, you made a point of Bama and I know we got to go, but Bama and LSU playing potentially in the SEC championship game if we do away with divisions. We could also have a year where Florida and Georgia play, which I think is cool too. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want the best 2 teams. Well, let's figure it out the right way.
Right. All right, man. I enjoyed it. I may jump on later, but have fun with the whole deal and Detillier, and we'll see what happens tonight with Hail State and Virginia. That's 2 good baseball teams. And so Vandy's on the ropes, right?
That's right. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker have both pitched. Neither have a win yet.
Goodness gracious.
Interesting.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Good show. See you, man.
Yes, sir. That was Bo Bounds on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Farm Bureau, go with the home team. That's right. Catch Jake Mangum doing some Farm Bureau Insurance commercials. He knows a thing or two about Omaha. We're going to talk a little bit more about Omaha on the other side. That was your SEC Insider Hit, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. For Bo Bounds, I'm Blake Scott. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, we've got Mike Detillier coming up at 8:30. You're not going to want to miss it as we talk a little LSU coach search. Could Chris Lemonis' name be in the discussion down on the bayou? More on the other side.
Come unwind with a dinner, a beverage, a ball game, or a laugh at Central Mississippi's unique hangout, The Station in Madison. Every Thursday and Friday, The Station in Madison wants you to start your weekend right in their unique setting, as you can grab a fantastic meal like the steak or redfish, a beverage, or a starter like their ahi tuna. If it's top shelf eats you want, you're going to get it at The Station. Follow The Station on Facebook and Instagram, or head over to thestationms.com for more information. Start the weekend right and enjoy unique and fun at The Station.